Welcome back to Shoe Leather Faith. My name is Robert McMillan, and I'll be your host for the next few minutes as we discuss making good decisions in life. And right now, we're going to get into the issue of the importance for having a strategy for life. In Proverbs 4:26, it says, "Ponder the paths of your feet, and let all your ways be established." That's what we want to do. And I'm going to share with you how to have vision, objectives, and goals for each of the major areas of your life. After this is finished, I want you to go to the website, shoeleatherfaith.org, and download this document. It's all the notes that I've prepared for doing this series on decision making. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So let's look at the importance of having a strategy for life. Here's a macabre way of looking at it. What do you want to look back and see when you are lying on your deathbed? On your deathbed, there are no do-overs, you can't correct mistakes, and you have no time left. What do you want to look back and see? Do you want to rejoice at how the Lord used you and how you got in sync with His plan for your life? Or is there something else that'll make you sad? Decisions are easier to make if you have a written structure for your life. You can take charge of the direction in your life if you can refer to your life vision statements for guidance. Statements that you've written down and said, these are things I want to accomplish in my life. For instance, if your vocational objectives include becoming a school teacher, you know to say no to a job opportunity that takes you away from school where you can get your teaching credential. By writing down your life visions, you have already made many of the most important decisions that will confront you in life. And referring to your plans that you wrote down, it makes decision making a lot easier. I'm going to help you set your vision, objectives, and goals to help you maximize your life as a stewardship you receive from God. I've found 7 basic areas of life in which vision, objectives, and goals are necessary. The first is a personal walk with God. Second, education. Third, family, to include planning for marriage, marriage itself, parenting, and the changes in life as you age. And then there's personal ministry as another area where you need a vision. Personal ministry, in other words, a ministry in the lives of others into which you believe God has led you. Church, in which church will you worship? And in what ministry will you be involved? Then vocation, what are you going to do to support yourself and your family through life? And last, finances. How much money do you need to do the things that God is calling you to do? So let's look at these 3 items, vision, objective, goals, and see how they plan out in a life plan. A vision is an ideal that you want to accomplish. An ideal you want to accomplish. And I'm going to give you a list of 3 areas of life we're going to have visions in. Now, granted, this is my perspective, not yours. You just change the wording around to focus on your perspective. There are 3 possible visions in 3 different areas of life I want to cover with you, just as an example. 1, to be the best possible husband to my wife. Now, if you're a woman, you want to say, I want to be the best possible wife to my husband. You make the adjustments. I'm just telling you what I've done. So 1 is to be the best possible husband to my wife. 2, to make Christ an issue in my community. Part of what I'm doing here on YouTube is to make Christ an issue in my community, which is planet Earth. And 3rd, I want to be a discipler of men. Now, an objective is the next step along the line of seeing that through, because a vision, you don't know when you've accomplished it. There's no way to evaluate whether or not you're on target. So you need objectives. Let me repeat that. An objective is a vision that explains the method for achieving it. And here's those three same visions turned into objectives. 1, to be the best possible husband to my wife by having date nights. Okay, I've told you the means of how I'm going to accomplish that. 2, to make Christ an issue in my community by telling people that I'm a Christian. That's simple enough. You can get as complicated as you want to, but understand what an objective is. You're putting the means of doing it into the statement. 3rd, I want to become a discipler of men by discipling someone in a morning Bible study. Now that's the start of it. So each vision has objectives. Each vision may have several objectives, because just by being the best possible husband to my wife by having date nights isn't enough. There are other things you have to do. It doesn't cover bringing flowers. It doesn't cover being a thoughtful husband. The third part in our triumvirate of tasks to accomplish is goals. A goal is an objective which is measurable and accomplishable. Now here are 3 goals. To be the best possible husband to my wife by scheduling 2 date nights this month. So there's the vision. It also has the objective, and now it has a goal which makes it measurable and accomplishable. I can attain to this. I couldn't attain to having date night 7 nights a week. You run out of steam, you run out of money, you run out of ideas. But 2 nights a month, that's measurable and it is accomplishable. You can do that. 2, to make Christ an issue in my community by telling 2 people that I'm a Christian before the end of the month. Well, that's measurable and attainable. I will know if I have done that. If by the end of this month, I've told 2 people that I'm a Christian. That goal says nothing about going through the gospel or anything else. That's just one goal. But after that, I'm going to add other goals as I see them up. I see them develop. And the third objective, I want to put a goal in there, and that's the goal of discipling 2 people on Thursday morning starting in 3 weeks. That's measurable. I'll know if I've done it if in 3 weeks I'm meeting with 2 other men on Thursday morning. And it's accomplishable. I'm not putting something that's unattainable to me or asking too much of me. I'm pacing myself to do the best I can. And that's a goal. It's accomplishable and it's measurable. I'll know if I've done it. So keep those things in mind. Vision, objectives, and goals. Each vision can have many objectives. Each objective can have many goals. Just keep track of them. Now let's look at some steps to making good decisions. 1 is prayer. It must be a continual practice. It's not something you start with and then, okay, I prayed and now I'm moving on. Prayer must be a continual practice throughout the decision-making process. In Proverbs 3 verses 5 and 6 it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Start with prayer, continue with prayer, end with prayer. Step number 2 is you have to ask some questions. Will my decisions glorify God? In 1 Corinthians 10:31 it says, therefore whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. Eat or drink, those are tiny little details of life. They don't seem spiritually important. But God thinks they are. Will my decisions glorify God? That's a question to be asked. Another question to be asked, will my decisions strengthen my walk with Christ, my ministry in my church, and my family in my home? 3, is it specifically forbidden in Scripture? For instance, when it comes to disciplining your children, what will you decide to do when they rebel against your authority? Know it ahead of time. Proverbs 29:15, the rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother. So one of the goals of my life is to produce godly children. That's one of my objectives as well. And one of my visions is to have a family that reflects God's grace. The fourth question to ask is, does the Bible discuss this decision through specific teaching or through an example of a narrative story? In Psalm 119:24 it says, your testimonies also are my delight and my counselors. So through specific teaching, there's guidance from the Bible. There's also guidance from the Bible in regard to examples. He's given us examples of men and women who have done the right thing, done the wrong thing, good men who have sinned, sinful men who have done the right thing. It's all in there. We just have to study it. So look at not only the instructions and the laws and commandments of the Bible, but look at the examples and the narratives of the Bible. The third step is to consult those whose wisdom has been proven. Proverbs 11:14 says, where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors there is safety. Find a group of men and women whom you trust. Maybe it's a life group in your church, and you've come to love these people, and you've seen the wisdom that they add to the discussion. Then fourth step, act. Proverbs 3 verses 5 and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. So, acknowledge him in everything, then act, because you're trusting that he's directing your path. Proverbs 16:9 also goes on to say, a man's heart plans his way. That's our job. But the Lord directs his steps. That's his job. So I hope that you'll look at these visions, objectives, and goals. So just get some paper and write down the visions, objectives, and goals in the 7 areas I shared with you earlier. And just see what God will do. In the meantime, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel, and if you like, please like down below. If you have a comment or a question, put it down in comments. I will respond to it. So, until next time, keep making those good decisions.